So, before we go any further in the text tonight, I would like to come back where we left off last time, in case you were here. Um, I offered that maybe we want to contemplate a line or two from the Jewel Mirror Samadhi and hold this with us during the week. I'm curious if anybody took a stab at that. And don't worry if you didn't. Life is good. Well, looks like I'm batting 100. So I meant for you to take it on not as something to figure out, but as something to live with, to integrate. So I'm going to offer this again for this coming week, so maybe you want to take me up on it this time. It's not necessarily what the intellectual meaning of the text is, but what you notice within yourself. Did it show up? Does it show up anywhere? So, to be continued. This noticing versus intellectual analysis is the heart of our practice. Not resolving something, not figuring out, but just maybe getting a glimpse of it. The movement towards a text like this and the movement away from it. It would be too much to ask of anybody to just dive right down to its depths. But this movement away and towards something is something very familiar that we do quite a bit in our life, so much that we probably don't notice it at all. And when we integrate little pieces of this text, then it begins to open up to us in a different way. Again, not something to be understood, but something that begins to describe our own experience. So tonight I want to stay with this quality of seeing within our own life, but widen it just a little bit. Not to understand more, but to notice more. There are these beautiful lines in there. Filling a silver bowl with snow, hiding a heron in the moonlight. Taken as similar, they are not the same. When you mix them, you know where they are. The meaning is not in the words, yet it responds to the inquiring impulse. There's something very subtle happening here. At first, everything seems to disappear into sameness, white on white. The bowl and the snow, the heron and the moonlight. White, white, white. It's hard to tell where the snow ends in that silver bowl and where the silver begins. Nothing announces itself. It's almost as if our seeing is failing us. And yet, taken as similar, they are not the same. So even in this field where it's hard to distinguish one from the other, difference does not disappear. The heron is still the heron. The snow is still the snow. But we cannot necessarily rely on contrast to know that. We cannot rely on something to stand out. So what kind of seeing am I talking about? we are very used to a certain kind of seeing. Seeing that identifies, that names, that distinguishes one thing from another. The kind of seeing which is incredibly useful. It allows us to function, to navigate the world. Just imagine a world where we are just seeing traffic lights, but we are not distinguishing the colors. That would not be so good. But this text is pointing to something more quiet. A seeing that does not lean into the contrast and does not immediately move to naming. It's more like being with, or as Thich Nhat Hanh calls it, interbeing, interpenetration. And maybe you have had moments like this in your life. And they were not dramatic. They were very ordinary. When you are simply present and everything is just exactly as it is. Nothing special, and yet nothing is missing. Then Dongshan writes, when you mix them, you know where they are. To me, this suggests that this kind of knowing is not lost when things are not clearly separated. Even when everything seems to blend, there is still a kind of knowing that functions. A knowing that does not come from analysis. A knowing that does not come from figuring out or studying. It is immediate and intimate. It is, the meaning is not in the words, yet it responds to the inquiring impulse. It becomes very direct. We're so used to looking for meaning in words. We listen, we read, we intellectually process, we want something from the text, we extract something, a definition, an explanation, a how-to guide, because we definitely are a self-improvement project, right? Something we can hold on to, we can write down, put it on our to-do list. But the Jewel Mirror Samadhi tells us the meaning is not in the words. So, if it's not in the words, where is it? It responds to the inquiring impulse. And something within us does respond. So that's a lot of people for triads tonight. Do you think we can do it? Try it? Tim says we can do it. So the question for the discussion is something along these lines. What does your response to the inquiring impulse feel like in your own experience? Like, have you ever noticed a response within you that wasn't an answer in the usual sense? Maybe something that didn't even make any sense at all, but it felt perfectly all right? Even if it doesn't fit the situation? And you know it's it. Let me say that again. Anything that touches on the subject of the inquiring impulse in your own experience. Noticing your own response that comes from some place that you cannot define. So if I could have someone time us. Thank you, Hannah. And each person has 4 minutes in triads. And I would just like to say, when we talk in triads, please gratefully accept whatever the commentary is without affirming or interjecting. Just give the person the full 4 minutes and don't try to formulate your response while the other person is speaking. Just really listen intently. If we could spread out a little bit in our little groups and huddle together, that would be awesome. Thank you. Does it work out with threes, or do we need a group of four? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I think those. There's two twos. Tim is going to join one, and maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Do you two want to come over here? Yep. What does the response to the inquiring impulse feel like in your own experience? Have you ever noticed something responding that wasn't an answer in the usual sense? Maybe even something that doesn't fit the situation, but it just feels right.
These moments in my life, and no matter how far we get back, they're still so crystal clear that I can remember everything about it. And they are all rather mundane things compared to but I cherish those moments because they're so intimate. It's like the only word that comes up for me. One time I was at a retreat in Switzerland with my teacher, Roman Fischer. And it was in the Alps, last resort. We had to go up with one of those little trains that were every seat is just built weird because the seat was up all the way. And so it was really high up in the mountains. I was called to Dokusan, and Dokusan waiting room was like in front of his sliding glass doors that look out on the little rock garden with the Chinese lantern. I mean, it was the perfect Zen temple for Switzerland. And as I was sitting, the clouds came. And it was just incredible. I was just sitting there. And at one moment, it was perfectly clear with the sun shining, and I'm looking at this Japanese stone lantern in the moss garden, and the slope sliding up between. All of a sudden, this cloud just swoops in. And it was incredibly. I mean, if someone would have told me I would have said, yeah, exactly. It was so incredibly dense that it just obscured everything within a few minutes. And I sat down in absolute sunshine, and within a few minutes it was dark. It was just like someone had thrown a blanket over it. And it just made the things really slow or permanent. It just wipes it so away because you expect the rest of the day to be in sunshine, and all of a sudden you're sitting under this wet blanket. Or understanding a phrase in something that I've chanted 1,000 times, like in the Heart Sutra. And it's okay not to say anything.
One time a guy stabbed me on the leg, and I just walked over there and I'm like, oh, mama, and he's scared of blood, and he's the one bleeding. It was just kind of funny. I'm not. I'm not. What am I doing? Put pressure on it. Go to the. And then the other week, it was like that. A neighbor came over to see what was going on in another neighbor's house. My name was 30 years, but the funny man is like, I'm just backing into it. I'm not tripping.
Thank you for that. If you could go back to your old place so we can continue. Thank you, partners. Thank you very much.
I do hope you enjoyed this exploration. And for the next quote, I would like to stay with this question of how to see, the question of seeing itself. But it's time to get a little bit more personal and a little bit more direct. It is like facing a jewel mirror. Form and image behold each other. You're not it. In truth, it is you. That is so Dongshan. Next page. The image of the mirror is very intimate. What do I see when I step in front of the mirror? Myself. It's no longer about snow and silver and moonlight, something we observe from a distance. Now it's us, you and me, and what we see. There is a story about Dongshan that lives right inside this line. After studying with his teacher for many years, his teacher was Yunyan, Dongshan eventually prepares to leave and to continue his practice on pilgrimage. Before he goes, there's a very simple, very human exchange with Yunyan. Dongshan asks his teacher, after you die, if someone asks me what your teaching was, how should I respond? It's a sincere question, not abstract. He's asking in a way, what is essential here? What is it that I carry with me when I go? And Yunyan replies, just this is it. Dongshan understands the sentence, but he cannot completely receive it yet. It stays with him unresolved. He carries it with him as he leaves, not as something that he needs to find an answer to, but as something unfinished, unresolved, something still alive. So he goes on alone, continuing his journey. And at some point he comes to a stream. He steps into the water and looks down, and he sees his reflection. And something shifts within him. Not as an idea, not as a conclusion to be explained, but as direct recognition. The words he later uses are very close to what we just read. Now I go on alone. Everywhere I meet it, it now is me. I now am not it. The line in the jewel mirror Samadhi, you are not it, in truth it is you. When we look in the mirror, we assume that we know what's happening here. There's me, there's my reflection, two things, subject, me, object over there. But if we stay with it just a little bit longer, it becomes less clear. The image only appears because of me, and yet it is not me. I cannot step into it, I cannot become it, and yet without me, it does not exist. So what is this relationship? You are not it. We are not identical with what we see. We cannot collapse everything into sameness. In truth, it is you. And yet, there is no real separation either. When Dongshan returns later on to his teacher, this earlier exchange is no longer just a question. Just this is it is no longer something to figure out. It has become immediate, not something he can point to as an object, but something he is already participating in. So when we read, form and image behold each other, it is not just poetic. It's describing something happening right now. Seeing and seen are not two separate events. They arise together. There is no image without seeing, and no seeing without what is seen. And still, you are not it. We don't dissolve into everything. And in truth, it is you. We are not outside of anything. So again, what kind of seeing is this? Not a seeing that stands apart, and not a seeing that grasps, but a seeing where there is no clear boundary between the one who sees and what is seen. And, dear friends, we don't need to figure this out right now. We don't need to resolve this. But let us pay attention to notice moments where this is already happening. Not in dramatic ways, but in very ordinary seeing. Now it is you. You and what you see. So maybe you might want to contemplate the question I'm going to ask when you get home. When you look at something, anything in your life, when you experience something, where do you place the boundary between you and it, between you and what you experience and what you see? Where do you draw that line? I want to finish the night with 2 more lines if I have the time. I'll speak quickly. Subtly included within the true, inquiry and response come up together. There's a gentle nudge here. Subtly included. Not obvious, not something we can point to directly, not something that stands out. It's already there, but easy to miss. And within the true, not somewhere else, not something we arrive at later, once we figure it out, not something behind experience is hidden. Your experience is right there. Right there, right here, within what is already happening, our reality. Inquiry and response come up together. This is so close to what we are exploring. We usually experience the question and the answer as 2 separate things. First there's a question, then the answer. But they do arise together. One wouldn't be without the other. The asking and the responding are not 2 separate events. We are not asked necessarily to find the answer, but I am asking you now most sincerely, fall in love with the question. Fall in love with the question. And notice that in very simple ways. A question arises within, sometimes not even as words. Sometimes it's a questioning feeling, a curiosity. And before we have time to turn it into something conceptual, something within us is already responding. Not as an answer we can explain, not as something we can hold on to. Subtly included. Usually we are looking for something obvious, something we can point to and say, there it is. It doesn't stand apart from experience. It is the experience itself. And why do we resist that? This mysterious thusness. We resist it because it feels too simple, almost disappointing. Something so ordinary can't possibly be what we are looking for. And yet it is. So thank you for allowing me to share this exploration tonight. And again, feel free to grab the text. You'll find it everywhere on the internet. Pick a line and figure out what it means for you. Just like last time, I will give you a reminder on the way, and it's the Five Ranks poem by Dongshan. In the third watch of the night, before the moon appears, no wonder when we meet there is no recognition. Still cherished in my heart is the beauty of earlier days. A sleepy-eyed grandma encounters herself in an old mirror. Clearly she sees a face, but it doesn't resemble her at all. Too bad. With a muddled head, she tries to recognize her reflection. Within nothingness there is a path leading away from the dusts of the world. Even if you observe the taboo on the present emperor's name, you will surpass that eloquent one of yore who silenced every tongue. When two blades cross points, there is no need to withdraw. The master swordsman is like the lotus blooming in the fire. Such a man has in and of himself a heaven-soaring spirit. Who dares to equal him who falls into neither being nor non-being? All men want to leave the current of ordinary life, but he, after all, comes back to sit among the coals and ashes.